A beautiful Monday morning to you and welcome to Ways Breakfast, #What Are You Saying? The platform for the informed, curious and passionate persons. So if this is you, join this conversation and other amazing discussions that we have here on Ways Breakfast. You can tune in every Monday morning to Friday as we explore pressing discussions, public perspective and inspiring stories right here every single day. Mondays to Fridays. I'm your one and only Okikiola Taiwo Jalupo, and I welcome you to the show this morning. I'm grateful and glad to be here alongside my precious Chiquito, who has been strangling me. Alicia, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
I've not seen her in over a week. For some reasons, our schedule was not scheduling, and now we woke up this morning wearing pink.
Yeah, a touch of it. Actually, you're not fully pink.
Yes.
I am the full pink.
Okay, pink-alicious. How are you? How was your weekend?
My weekend was adventurous. It was insightful. Is that the right word? It was adventurous. I had a lot of things to do, a lot of activities. And do you know, when I started this week, when I woke up this morning, and I knew in my mind that you were going to ask me how was your weekend. First, I was like, I want to move away from that and think about the new week ahead because I slept last night with my mind very occupied on the things that are awaiting me this week because I have a number of meetings to attend, a number of clients to reach out to, even church activities as well. So this week is going to be one of my fullest so far, and I'm already gearing up towards it. So yeah, I've moved over the frenzy of last week and I'm on to something new. That's how I feel.
Wonderful. Oh yeah, ask me now.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was mix of angry, sad, excited, everything put together because, you know, for people like us who's usually at the forefront of politics and grassroots elections, certain things will
I
make
think I
you
saw
feel...
the update on your status. You're like, they're just bringing election material by 11. Like,
I was angry.
The politician in her is already coming out.
I was angry because I was like, okay, normally the election was supposed to start from 8 to 3 p.m. and you see election materials arriving at 12 o'clock. So how many hours are you giving to voters to actually, you know, express themselves? As at 3 o'clock, the collation officer, the LISEC officer was already angry. We want to close.
True.
And I had to be like, I'm sorry I used the word bro. I left the excuse me, so I was like, bro, you came at this so time. So you should give extra time for people to express their votes. People came before you came and they found out that you were not there.
Do they
and they
do
went
that
back
for other
home.
elections like the presidential?
Yes,
or is there some lethargy that comes when it's
No, it's actually a very common thing during elections where either the INEC official or the LISEC official will just come at the time that they feel, then they'll complain about logistic problem, whatever thing that might be. So if the thing just got me infuriated that, okay, you were late. You didn't apologize for being late. When it was 3 o'clock, before 3 o'clock, you're already telling everybody that they need to vote very fast, you know, trying to hurry canvassers. And I was like, bro, excuse me, bro, you have to give people more time to vote. Regardless of the party, you have to give them more. So it was a mix of happy...
what was the condition over like there?
So
do you have any
on my
riots?
side, on my side, there was still... It was peaceful. But you know when you start to see strange things happening around, where there's some people staying in the corner, they're this, they're that, and I had to be at alert at every single point. As if it was me that was a security officer. But we had, you know, police officers around. We had proper security in that sense.
My place was relatively, in fact, it was very quiet. It wasn't like elections were going on.
And that was a low turnout space.
Quiet.
That's why I said that I was angry, because first off, we have been clamoring for this local government election, come out to vote, whether they were selected, elected, whatever that they was. You have to exercise your right. It's your duty, you must. This one is not a whether or not you should. You must. Every time you don't vote, you give whoever wants to rig, whichever bad elected official wants to rig, you give them the right to do so, because that's you plus whatever votes that they want to add. So not being there already is a bad thing. So I'm ranting at this point, but that was how my weekend went. Excellent. Give God the glory. People who have won. They've declared some true winners, some rigged winners, some selected winners. But yes, we'll have them again for another 4 years. But as you know, we also want to hear from you. How was the election around your side over the weekend? Did you vote? And if you voted, Are you sure that you voted for the right candidate? Share your thoughts with us on all our social media handles, from Instagram to TikTok to YouTube to X and Facebook. Just share with us. We're here to listen to you. We'll go on a break right now. We'll return. We'll take you through the top stories across the globe. Please stay tuned. To have you back from that break. Now, before we take a look at what's making the headlines on the page of today's newspaper, the reason why Oluchi was trying to strangle me, I have to tell the general public, because I said I was going to ask her who the councillor over her ward is, the area where she stays, and who the chairman of that local government is. So Oluchi,
so you want me to let people know where I stay? I'm trying to actually be the mysterious girl. I mean,
okay,
I'm on
tell
TV.
me about the chairman. Maybe not the councillor, the chairman of your ward.
You already know where I stay because you can go and check where that chairman is.
Doesn't mean it's a local government made up of over 800,000 people.
Anyway,
tell us.
So where I stay in Yaba local government developmental area, LCDA. And I think I've been on your access. But since I've moved there, the new place. Honestly, I don't know. So I'll use the former place to judge it as far. I'm still very fresh where I am. Babatunde Dosumu, the winner. And I think this particular election had more APC candidates. I mean, it's almost like they took over the whole offices across board, and it's giving, it's giving what it's given. And I think my own conclusion at this point is, yeah, we've gone over the frenzy of who is supposed to be there. Let's vote, let's do this. Sometimes you cannot change the outcome of certain things. We can only expect that the people that are there now, should ensure that they do what ought to be done, at different local government areas. I've always mentioned that sometimes, even when money comes from this federal level, it doesn't just stop there. The local government areas help us apportion these things, to the right quarter. So it's time to even hold them accountable. And thank God we've been clamoring on even knowing who your councillor is.
Exactly why
so that you can know who you are going to. If you are seeing something wrong, you can know the offices that you're reporting to.
Absolutely. And
not just shout President Tinubu on Twitter. There's somebody that you can also hold accountable that, sir, in this primary healthcare center, what's going on? You're the one in charge here.
Yeah.
Do you get? So I think it's a good one.
Thank you for...
So who is the one in your own area?
Is Adebayo Olasoju. That's what the chairman of. He's a re-elected
APC
chairman. Right? Yes, of course. Yes.
Interesting.
So yes, take us through the Nigerian newspapers. So
yeah, of course. We can't even talk about the papers this morning and not refer to the very heartbreaking news we saw yesterday. The death of former President Muhammadu Buhari. And I think before I even start the papers, let me even read the papers before I go back to give a particular comment that's been troubling. I said when I come on air this morning, I'm going to really rant about it. But the major headline says Tinubu ex-leaders gather for Buhari's burial in Dara today. Ex-president dies in London hospital at 82. Shetima arrives with corpse, national flags, fly half-mast as Obasanjo governors lead tribute. A generous legacy, Buhari's march through history. Above that, 2027, APC plots major NWC shake-up ahead of December convention. 9 states delay teachers 70,000 naira minimum wage. Below that, we see Nigeria's U.S. export plummet at $527 million amid rising trade tensions. 2 months after Trump's 10% tariff move, Nigerian exports suffer sharp decline. Tribute as Awul Jale of Ijebuland passes at 91. Tinubu, Abiodun and others mourn the life and legacy of a fearless monarch. So the Punch highlights the death of 2 leaders. The one that is on everyone's lip has to be, former President Muhammadu Buhari, which, when I saw this post at first, and, I was just going to, share it across board, but I'm like, Precious, calm down. Don't be such a bearer of bad news, because it is bad news. So what do I want to comment on? I want to comment on people's attitude towards stories like this. Now, this can be controversial. People have the right to think whatever they want to think. And that's why I'm also very confident to tell you what I think about this. So firstly, let me even read a tweet I saw from Solomon Buchi. He said, I know we all want to get preachy, but you cannot ask people who were negatively impacted by Buhari's presidency not to rejoice over his death. Real lives were lost, real people suffered, and real families endured extreme suffering. Buhari's life isn't more important than all the lives wasted as a result of his clueless government. You can't force legacy. How you live determines how people feel when you pass away. It's not wickedness, it's consequence. So Momochi says a number of things, but with this particular post concerning the death of someone who had ruled Nigeria from 2015, 2020, when again? 2015, I think 2023 as well, and even, former, during the military regime as well. It's even not human to really glorify someone's death. Talk more of somebody who was at the helm of affairs in a country that you pledge patriotism and allegiance to. Yes, of course, we had a lot of problems and concerns with his administration, right? I think we had a lot of troubles from inflation to insecurity. Still the same spillover that we're seeing in current administration, and also a spillover he got from other administration. I'm not coming here to say that, he was one of the best presidents we ever had. But I think that we're beginning to lose our humanness because of some of the sufferings that we are feeling. Generally, when somebody loses their life, except that person is a painted terrorist in that sense, like when, maybe Anini or some of all those villains were clearly executed, you don't rejoice over people's death. And it just speaks, there was just something wrong about everything. And somebody will say, what are you saying? Are you oblivious? Don't you remember how his, tenure was? Calm down. Sometimes it's just a spillover of different things that happen. And don't lose your humanness because you want to join, this age of wokeism and, social media. What's it called now? How will I put it? I don't even know how to call it, but it's quite disheartening. It's concerning, and I didn't even like the whole comment. When I saw it at first, I was like, oh, this is really sad, because I've been hearing about the whole sickness stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
A lot of things went on that we do not know. Yeah. But a president who you once pledged your support in, remember, people voted him in twice. So that means at some point, Nigerians believed in him. At some point, he probably did things that were great. Maybe the scale of the good and the bad did not, balance. And that's based on a number of things that we're not aware of. Many times, we'll not even get to the end of the story because what we see is only what we're allowed to see. You really don't know how things span out. So at the end of the day, we can't just turn out like the bad guys and begin to mourn, begin to rejoice over people's death. I saw some really gory comments online. People were like, oh, finally, some were even saying, he has died long ago. They are just announcing. A number of things happened, and
Jibril.
I'm like, what's going on? What is really going on?
I think over the weekend was the funniest thing was this Jibril's controversy and scandal about the ex-president, talking about how finally they kept him inside water somewhere, preserving his body, and it was a plan that after 2 years he was going to die. To me, it didn't sit well. I was like, how now? But either way, this person has died, and then we just have to honor the dead in whatever way that
yes.
we can either silently do it or just be modest about.
The best is even don't even make a comment if you have nothing reasonable to say
about it. But then the Guardian newspaper also has similar stories, but I'll read some. Presidency may use court to scuttle ADC. That's Mark Ones for the 2027 election. Contractors to shut down FCT roads in protest against indebtedness. LP slams Abure over secret meeting with Wike, reaffirms suspension. Tributes reflections on legacy as Buhari bows out at 82. The man, his legacy, policies, health and controversies. Another story here reads, morning as Awujale Oba Adetono passes on at 91. Opposition laments as APC sweeps Lagos LG polls. Tinubu article distracting youths from nation building. And the final story here says Anglican Bishop decries hardship, says it's adversely affecting churches. I like that the Guardian sort of captured talking about the man, his legacy, policies, health and controversy. I think that sort of wraps up everything about Buhari. Those things that didn't sit right with Nigerians, the ones that meant well for Nigerians, just something encompassing of the man that he was, not a particular version of him that has been posted. And the fact that we have another king here who has died is also quite a sad one. But the one that I'm so keen and interested in is the fact that opposition laments as APC sweeps Lagos LG polls. People did not People did not come out to vote. People did not come out to vote. I repeat, people did not come out to vote.
Are you saying that all the people that came out to vote voted, everyone voted APC?
Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that the reason why APC won is because of one. I'm saying people. I'm adding an APC, PDP, all the parties, Obedient, Labour Party. People did not come out to vote. The councillor of my ward won by 1,502 votes, whether legit or not. The fact that people did not show up to vote is a terrible thing. And I was like, I'm not even going to talk about it, but the fact that the Guardian had to pick it, and then opposition now saying that APC swept, on what basis? Is it that you mobilized people to come out to vote, and then you were disenfranchised? Is it that there was violence in your area? There has to be data. You cannot just come up and say and pick the headline and tell me that APC won one particular say. It's not a party thing anymore for me. If you want good for your state, your country, wherever, come out to vote regardless and guard that vote. I said it online that I went on Twitter looking for people posting that, okay, they went to vote. I didn't see people posting on Twitter. I didn't see it trending.
This is general. These elections always have that silent
Till when?
mood.
If we're saying it's general, we've had NSAS happen. We've had hunger protests happen. We've had end bad governance happening. So is it not a government thing or a people thing? So we have to, it's a mix of both. So if we want to do anything, if we want to change the narrative, is that we stop the blame game and just come out to vote and publicly post that you have voted for the candidate that you want to vote for. If the candidate did not win, all right and good, you know that you exercise your right. But coming out all of a sudden to just say that opposition swept whatever. It could have been PDP, it could have been Labour Party, it could have been any party that would have swept that just by the virtue of, do you have evidence that you came out to vote? Full stop. I will not say anything again. I wanted to read another story, but I didn't find it on the Guardian newspaper, where the headline is saying Tinubu article distracting youths from nation building. They know they distract me. I don't know about
I'm not distracted.
I'm not distracted.
I'm building in my own space and my own lane.
Everybody's building their own space. So let's just leave that, because I was expecting to read a story.
I wanted to take here on the pod. I think I missed it. The one about this whole minimum wage. I know that I'm sounding like a broken record now, always talking minimum wage. So this particular story read that 9 states have delayed teachers their 70,000 naira minimum
I know that
wage.
you want to read that, but I
just want to put it to you that this is what is going on in the educational sector. So when you see teachers clamoring and striking and not giving you the best, it's because of things like this. Other sectors don't get this kind of delay, I presume. But when it comes to the educational sector, 9 states, the nine teachers, the what now? What they call them? People that have the most. In fact,
don't worry,
just hold it like that.
We'll pick it. Let's do it the way our president will do. When he drops a quote, he does this. Like, hold that and think about it.
It's quite appalling.
Well, we have some tweets here on this on the ex-president's death, but yeah, one tweet here is saying that indeed, I need a public holiday to process this. I recommend 14th to 18th of July. And it was just very funny when I saw all of this tweet that was happening. I have other tweets here saying, federal government, how many likes for public holiday tomorrow? We are really sad about his death. Another person wrote, that's Thatcher wrote, no matter your views, Muhammadu Buhari was a major part of Nigeria's story. And she wrote RIP. Someone said, anyone who desires to be respected in death should live honorable while alive. If the dead wants to be respected, the dead has to respect the living. Somebody also wrote, and I get all these tweets for draft before. As if they were waiting. It was almost like they were waiting for the man to die.
Because they shocking one.
Honestly,
so,
I saw Buhari, ex-president Buhari passes on at 82, 31 seconds ago. The next minute, I just started seeing different tweets. Almost like the world was awake when they saw that he died. Everybody just had so many things to say.
Let me even shock you with one.
See here, even showing that Buhari said, yes, I remember him saying that lazy Nigerian youths, and they were like, I don't know, I'm not happy about his death. Neither am I sad. I'm just indifferent about it, because I believe that he meant something to his loved ones. And just imagine me losing my mom or my dad, and to a version of people, maybe she wasn't good or something. I think that it will still be on me that I'm going to be sad about whatever has has happened. So let's just be emotionally aware and intelligent in that sense, or
be human. Don't
and be
lose your
human.
humanness,
Let's be
please.
empathetic about our person. But that's all we have on the stories for today's newspaper. We're going to break right now and then return with our guest for today. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tell us you're a Nigerian without saying a word. Energy security is one of the most pressing issues for many developing countries like Nigeria. And if there's going to be any meaningful progress, addressing our energy issues is non-negotiable.
I need to see light from my house. Make them do something.
Band A is expensive. I literally have to turn off all my appliances just to reduce costs.
We need light.
Introducing the Energy Outlook, your go-to show for everything energy. Every week, we'll bring you the latest insights, innovation, and in-depth analysis of Nigeria's energy sector. From policy discussions to regulatory insights, we'll analyze the key decisions influencing growth and sustainability in the energy sector. We'll bring you the human stories behind the headlines, giving you a personal perspective on the broader energy challenges. Join me every Friday at 6 p.m. for the Energy Outlook, your guide to the future of energy, where energy means business.
Welcome back to the show. Today's conversation is quite a troubling one, and as of a reminder that if our systems don't work, the people wouldn't. We're talking about the dental dreams that has been shattered, the plight of Unical's dentistry students. Over the weekend, we saw stories of over 300 students of the University of Calabar, Unical Faculty of Dentistry and Dental Surgery, are facing possible expulsion due to an admission crisis. The university admitted students that the quota approved by the Medical Dental Council of Nigeria, MDCN, which has sparked widespread outrage and despair among students and parents. In such a crisis cause, the MDCN has said that they have approved a quota of only 10 students per academic session for the dentistry program, but Unical had admitted over 300 students. The university's management has also been accused of prioritizing revenue generation over regulatory compliance. Students claim they were not aware of the accreditation issues and have invested millions of naira in tuition, accommodation, and other costs. Many students are devastated, having spent nearly a decade pursuing their dental dreams. Some students have proposed merging with medicine and surgery counterparts or seeking government intervention to resolve this crisis. The Nigerian Association of Dental Students, NADS, has condemned the university's action, describing it as inhumane. Others at this point just want to commit suicide or unalive themselves because of the situation. Well, the university responded. That's Vice Chancellor Professor Florence Obi explained that the universities often admit more students than the quota to account for the expected attrition rates. However, she failed to provide a clear path forward, leaving students uncertain about their future. And I'm seeing these possible outcomes right now as students might be forced to transfer to other universities or abandon their dental studies altogether. The university's reputation and accreditation status may also be at risk if the crisis is not resolved promptly. Government intervention may be necessary to salvage the academic careers of the affected students. And with us this morning to discuss this issue is Dr. Adedeji Kowobari, the Principal Concierge Dentist NG. He has joined us to discuss this topic, and I'm sure from his experience and perspective, he'll do justice to this issue. Welcome, Doctor. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much
to have
for
you.
having me.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so going straight into the conversation, what were your thoughts on the current crisis or on this current crisis facing the dentistry students of the University of Calabar, and how do you think it can be resolved?
First thoughts was saddening, very saddening that the students have now almost become victims of our multi-sectoral problems in Nigeria. And these are some of the problems that have been inherited from previous decades. You know, that these students have now become victims of. So that's the first reaction, because I went to dental school at Obafemi Awolowo University. I would say I was fortunate, to have graduated at the right time, and we didn't have an issue like this. So I understand the amount of enormous effort that has been put in place by these students all these years, financially, mentally, studying and training to become dentists. And now it looks like their dreams have been shattered. Well, one thing is that the situation can possibly still be salvaged, like you rightly said. However, salvaging it should not just be like a band-aid. It should not just be like an emergency solution. It should be something that goes deeper, just more than just salvaging it for them right now. Because there is a need for a lot of dentists. There is a need for us to train more dental professionals in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
The lag in the dental professionals in Nigeria is so much. Right now, we have less than 5,000 dentists serving a growing population of more than 200 million people. That is far less than the WHO recommended dentist population ratio of 1 dentist to 10,000 people. So it's rather unfortunate and highly saddening that those students have had to, face this situation right now.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Now, you just mentioned something that I think is already making me think of the question to ask you, because you mentioned that there is a need to train people in this particular field of dentistry. And yet we're seeing a body placing like a mark to people that should be admitted. I firstly even want to understand this story from first knowing the motive behind this accreditation process that goes around in school. Why is there even a bench in the student that can be admitted or even allowed to continue the program if that particular sector even needs a number of students there? So it's not like the market is already saturated and they're trying to reduce. There's the need for it. So why is there a mark there? I'm trying to understand how it works, the system from
Okay,
MDCN.
so dentistry is one of the most highly specialized profession within the health sector. It's highly specialized, so it requires some high-level training in terms of how rigorous it is. So despite the fact that we need a higher number of dentists, and this is global, it's not just Nigeria alone, despite the fact that we need a higher number of dentists, there needs to be regulation to the quality of dentists that are being produced. So there needs to be a regulation to the training of dentists and also the quality of dentists that are being produced. So the fact that we need more dentists doesn't mean that we produce substandard dentists. So the challenge is not in the putting of a cap to the number of dentists. It is in the quality that the schools that are training them are operating at. So the way MDCN does the accreditation is this. If you want to start training dentists, you need to meet a particular standard before you can get accredited to start admitting dental students and then training them. So the responsibility lies on the schools to then meet the standard. So depending on the kind of standard you have, that's what will determine the number of dental students you'll be able to take in and train. So a good example, for example, was sometime early this year, when the University of Abuja got their quota for the number of medical students they can admit to train to become medical doctors, increased from 75 to 200. One of the reasons why that increase happened based on the explanation of the registrar of the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria, Dr. Fatima Kiari. She said because of the increase in the number of doctors that needs to be produced, just to bridge the gap or the lag caused by the JAPA syndrome and all of those things. So they had to increase. However, the increase didn't just come without a particular standard. So they have a standard, and then she also said that there will be continuous re-accreditation, that needs to go on so that the standard is maintained. One other challenge I think has brought us to this level at which we are is that even the re-accreditation that happens, the question is how regularly does it happen? Is it every year they go back to these schools to check the number of students that they have and then the standard of training that these students are going through,
Yeah.
because the quality, like I said, is very, very needed. So we are not just trying to look at quantity alone, the number of dentists produced. We also want to have quality dentists. Another reason why it could be a bit challenging for us to have a high number is that the cost required to have the infrastructure needed to train dentists is a bit higher compared to some even other health sciences courses or general courses we have. And it's not just the cost of putting the infrastructure in place. There's also the cost of maintenance, of maintaining the infrastructure. So that's one of the reasons why there is that benchmark or cap, for lack of a better word, in the number of dental students that schools can take in. Lastly, to add, we don't have enough schools even training dental students. That's another thing. We don't have enough schools training dental students. As our last check, I think we have just about 10 fully accredited higher institutions that train dental students, between 10 and 12. So we need more. We need more higher institutions to take in dental students. But like I said, MDCN would need to give an accreditation so that we are not just churning out dentists that are not of good quality.
Before I allow Kiki speak, you just said something that I think has been on my mind for a while. The fact that this is it's not firstly the school problem, even though the school has to be blamed for all of this, or even the students as well, but the people even regulating this. Because how can you, I don't know how frequent regulation is supposed to be done. If this had been done earlier, I think the risk would have been mitigated and people would have even found ways to leave quickly. But after some while, then you're coming to tell us that over 300 students should start figuring out another career path when we know what it means to actually get into universities these days and how tasking it has been. So I'm thinking that this is now showing us that going forward, MDCN should start playing a much more critical role in even ensuring that schools adhere to this accreditation process so that we don't have to deal with a bigger problem later on. Honestly, I was just going to make that input before we continue.
Yes,
well,
exactly.
Thank you very much, Oluchi, and of course, Doctor, for joining the show and giving us the needs that we need to know so that we are sure of the kind of information that we're also putting out there. Now, looking at the accreditation process, which is one of the issues that we're currently having, what role do you think that the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria should play in ensuring that these dental schools adhere to the accreditation standards? The Vice Chancellor came up to say that, yes, it was an intentional thing to over-admit. It has been happening for years and years before now. But something somehow, that's why I said she didn't tell us a particular way forward or what could be done in that sense to address the issue. So now let's say it's falling back on the MDCN to decide what they are going to do with that issue. So how do you think that they should play that? What role do you think that they should play in ensuring that dental schools adhere to that accreditation standard?
Okay, so first off, there should be an open dialogue that involves all parties that are involved in this: MDCN, the school, and then the students and the relevant bodies and associations. Because, like I said, this is a multi-sectoral and a multifaceted issue. It has its implications on everybody, on the whole dental industry, which is where we at Concierge Dentist NG play in. Our goal is to improve the access Nigerians have to quality dental service. And this access cannot be improved if there are no dental professionals, well-trained dental professionals. So the first thing is that there must be an open dialogue among all parties involved. Where the fault lies in should be identified, and some sort of punitive measures should be put in place to make sure that such doesn't repeat itself. Now, on the part of the MDCN, the Vice Chancellor of Unical said that they usually over-admit because of the expected attrition rate. However, the question that needs to be asked is, what attrition rate do they project? Because if you are given the quota of 10, so the quota of 10, when it comes to admitting, the quota of 10 basically means that you have the capacity to train 10 dentists. It also has different implications. Some could interpret it to mean that you have the capacity to only admit 10 dental students. If you try to do that, then you would be limiting the number of students that can be admitted, because as they pass through the training, some of them definitely would drop off because possibly they're not up to the standard. So it's not unexpected to admit a little above the expected quota. What's another implication of the meaning of the 10 is that the maximum number you can graduate on a yearly basis is 10. And we see a situation where there are some schools who definitely have above 10 and they don't even graduate up to that number. So the first thing is, one thing I think MDCN can do for schools is to say, if your quota is 40, for example, to the best of my knowledge, I think Lagos University Teaching Hospital, they have a quota of 40 dental students that can be taken in. If your quota is 40, then what percentage additionally can you add when you are admitting new students? And one of the ways to get that is to review the rates of attrition that has happened within the last 10 years, for example, and then you can use that to project. So one of the saddening things about the Unical experience is that there is no way you want to explain how your quota is 10, which means that for 6 levels in the dental school, you should have 60 ideally. Yeah. Now, even if you have a 50% increase as extra, that should be 60 times 2, which should be 120.
120.
Why do you then get
not 300? Yes.
Exactly. So that addition is too high. So what is the expected attrition rate and what is the expected extra that can be admitted, on a yearly basis? This is the rate that MDCN, for example, can always check. So another challenge I think might be happening is that sometimes the MDCN is at times primarily concerned about the final year, the number of students or new dentists that they want to register, they want to send from the school. Oh, is it up to the quota that we were given? We don't care about the number that are down the line in the number of levels up beyond the final level. But the thing is, the number of students we have in the other level will, at the end of the day, affect the final number in the final year. So regular reaccreditation visits must now go on. Do we want to do it yearly? Do we want to do it every 2 years? And what really happens in reaccreditation or even accreditation is that the MDCN comes to the school to check the standard of training. There is a minimum amount of equipment, materials, resource personnel that need to be available to train dentists adequately. So all of these need to be checked regularly. One of the challenges I know that we have seriously as a nation is our maintenance culture. And that's why I said at the beginning that this is a multi-sectorial issue. I tell people a lot of times when we do trainings and analysis that there is no sector in our nation that can experience a significant growth without commensurate growth in other sectors, in other complementary sectors. So for example, now this Unical issue is something that affects both the health sector and then the education sector. Well, within the dental industry, finance is also an issue. Finance is also an issue. There's a legal part of all of these, because, for example, now, if our legal sector in the country is so efficient to the point where, litigation can happen and then some people can even sue for damages and all of those things. When you know that there is rule of law and that you shouldn't do something like this, you will have prevented it ahead before it happens. So that's what I'm saying, that for us to prevent this for the future, a lot of other things have to be put in place. So regular reaccreditation visits needs to happen from MDCN to make sure that they are not leaving these schools to have over-admitted students, and then we are not trying to do something to solve the problem when a lot of things, have happened afterwards.
Thank you very much, Doctor. We have quite a number of comments here, but we want to take a break. Let's take a break. Let's breathe in and breathe out, and then we'll be right back. We'll read some of these comments and then use that as maybe another question to be able to ask you to give some of these people, clarity with some of the issues that they're facing. So please stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back to the show. We have quite a number of comments here. Very concerned people in that sense.
Affected people.
Concerned and affected people. Because looking at the comments, it's almost like they have. It's not like it's like they are really hot about what's happening. And then we have from Minded Twist here. She is it Minded Twist?
Mind Twist.
Mind Twist is saying, I'm a 100-level student that's been affected by this. And Miracle Justin said, we are not 300, we are 465 in number, way over 300. And the Mind Twist is also commented that, but now they admitted about times 10 of the quota in some cases, still saying that we are 465 in number. And it's quite sad because this is somebody who has probably told her parents about her matric, is excited. Her parents have been involved in all the process, the jam, all of these things that has happened before she finally got, admission, or he finally, I don't know who my twist is, but I'm just assuming it's a he or a she. And that's it.
Aduma Violet even mentions her son here, so the parent is also talking about how affected she is.
Yes, it is. So let's start from the student angle now. What advice would you give to these affected students, and what options do you think that they have to salvage their academic careers? I've seen some people on their tweets talking about them being in 500 level. This person is just starting out, but I can imagine that there's been a lot of emotional, physical, and financial investment in that. So if you can maybe address the different levels and what options that you think that they might have to salvage their academic careers.
I wouldn't lie, it's tough to advise because I've not been in their shoes before. I would have to say that, and be honest. However, generally, one of the things you can do in an institution like this, first, is to be calm. Maintain calmness. It's part of the challenges in life. There will always be challenges in life whenever there are issues. One other thing I would want you to also do is not to give up on your hope of becoming dentist. I'm particularly interested in producing more dentists. Like I said, it's a very, very fantastic and highly rewarding profession. So it's very fantastic and highly rewarding. However, one other thing apart from being calm and not losing hope is to start looking at other options. I know as recent as 2-3 years ago, a school like University of Jos had a similar issue, and their dental students were admitted into the medical line, that's the medical course, the medical counterpart, so that they were going to train and then eventually become medical doctors. And I think Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, also did something like that recently. So that's one other option, and that's also the reason why I said earlier that we need an open dialogue that involves all parties. One other thing that I think the students also need to know is that despite the fact that you don't have your degrees yet, or it's looking like you might not have your degree, one thing that you've been given is dental knowledge. Yes, dental knowledge. Yes, there's no degree to certify that. However, within the dental industry, there are quite a number of things that can happen with your dental knowledge. And that's why, for example, the question you need to ask yourself now is that the knowledge of dentistry that I have right now, what am I even doing with it? There are quite a number of things you can do with dental knowledge, even if you are not yet a dentist. It might be difficult, but you can do it, especially in this internet age and social media. If you're calm, you are positive, there is a lot of positive turnaround that you can make out of these. There's a lot of positive turnaround that you can make out of these. So like I said, be calm, put all options on the table, do not lose hope, and then ask yourself, the knowledge I have so far, the investments I've made, the knowledge I have from the investment I've made, what can I do with it? What can I do with it? So I think that is what I can say for now to the affected students.
So we have more comments here. Aduma Violet is saying, my son is a year 1 student and they are not over 300 but 465 in number. We also have other comments here. Kojichuku Okechuku is saying, year 6A, 61 students, year 6B, 39 students, year 5A, 97 students, year 5B, 128 students, year 4A, 43 students, year 4B, 24 students, year 3, 11 students, year 162 students. That's a lot of number. And it's beyond just those numbers. Even the parents, the guardians, whatever struggle. I'm looking more on not even just the school, but the kind of mess that the school has made. Because there's no clarity. I'm blaming the school because there's not been any clarity per se talking about why this was done. And if you're talking about aberration or whatever stuff, of what number, you have explained these numbers to us, but still it doesn't make sense with what has been done in Unical. We also have Olurombi. Okay, so my twist is saying that he's thank you for that. Olurombi Olawale is saying what we need are, number one, improve these facilities and pay the lecturer debt. Number two, merge the classes that are too populated with their medicine counterparts. Number three, we reject all form of transferring to other schools. So that's what another viewer is saying. What do you think about that last? I really want to ask the doctor, what do you think about that last tweet saying that they should cancel any form of transferring students to other school okay, we still have comments from Kodichuko saying all we are asking is that, one, the school releases funds to meet up with the MDCN requirements and graduate the class awaiting induction. And number two, merge some classes from 500 level with medicine. So what do you think about that, doctor?
Okay, so yes, merging with medicine, the medical counterpart, is an option on the table. Even transferring to other dental schools is an option, although the possibility of that is very, very, very slim. And the reason is because these other schools too are operating on a very, very tight and limited quota. And they also are trying to prevent something like this. University of Nigeria, Nsukka, is an example of one school that I know right now is facing a lot of heat as regards their accreditation. So it's very, very challenging. There's a lot of financial need, investment when it comes to training dentists. Whether we even want to train a small number or a high number of dentists. So like I said, all options should be on the table. For these numbers I'm seeing is highly saddening, that this has gone on for many years. So like I said initially, punitive measures have to be brought to the table. One of the things that can console some of those affected, even apart from the other solutions we're trying to put to the table, is to see that someone goes punished or some people get punished for what has happened. And if
get justice.
This doesn't happen,
not just punishment, justice also.
Yes, something should happen, because the kind of development we are looking for or asking for in our country cannot be there in every sector if there is no rule of law. If there is no rule of law, the rule of law must be, upheld in every sector, in every area. So there must be justice for what has happened so far, and then everyone should collaborate for the way forward.
Talking about collaboration, Dr. Adedeji, I'm just thinking, I just graduated a few months ago, and I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of these students, because I spent 6 years for a 4-year course. So imagine during my last year in school, a body is coming to tell me my course was not accredited. You were accredited though, because I'm just imagining all of this, and I'm trying to keep my cool. So at this point, I think one major solution I would really suggest is if the accreditation is very heavy on financial resources and the adequate training needed for these people, maybe at this point there can be an exemption. Maybe they should just think of some other resources or gather money, collaborate, as you have mentioned, involve the government, involve these bodies. So if you are saying that is the resources and the financial ability that is not making us want to chunk this amount of dental students into this particular sector, let's do all we can, because we can't waste people's dream. We're talking about students who we are trying to even have in our country, study in our country, and serve in our country. This is already a prompter for people to give up on the educational system in Nigeria and have a very strong reason to want to school abroad and even practice abroad. The Jagba syndrome,
at all.
Exactly. The Jagba syndrome affects people in the medical field even more, and this is even a stronghold that they will say they are not even practicing in Nigeria again. It's really appalling, and at this point they should consider students who have spent 6 years. The year 1 student and year 2 may not even feel the brunt of it, but 6 years, and I'm not going to graduate with my